In the spirit of respect, authenticity, and reconciliation, the town of Slave Lake honors and acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional lands of Sawridge First Nation within Treaty 8 territory, home to Indigenous, Métis, and Inuit peoples who have occupied these lands since time immemorial. Oh, Councilor Grabnik.
Need to add correspondence to the agenda. Then I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
Okay, motion on the floor to add correspondence and accept as amended. Any further discussion? Call to question those in favor. And that is carried. Okay, first up, we have our public hearing. So this is for the application to amend the intermunicipal plan bylaw 24-2014, redistricting bylaw 15-2024. I have to do all this first? Okay. Sorry, you're gonna have to hear me talk for a bit. I declare that the public hearing is open and that the hearing is held pursuant to sections 230, 606, and 692 of the Municipal Government Act 2000 as amended. The purpose of bylaw 15-2024 is to amend the intermunicipal development plan land use plan map by redesignating Southeast 373-6 west of the 5th from commercial to industrial. Notice of the hearing was given in writing to the applicant, the assessed landowner or landowners and adjoining landowners, Sawridge First Nation, Municipal District number 124, Living Waters Catholic Separate School Division, High Prairie School Division, and the Planning and Development Officer. The notice of the hearing was advertised on the town's website from August 21st, 2024 to September 10th, 2024. Any presentations are to be brief and to the point. The order of the hearing for presentations will be the Planning and Development Officer, those in favor of the bylaw, those opposed to the bylaw, any persons deemed to be affected who wish to be heard. All persons giving presentations are to state their name and address.
Good evening, Council. I'm here to present the report on behalf of the Planning and Development Department. So the purpose of this report is for Council to hold the required public hearing and to consider second and third reading later in the meeting for bylaw 15-2024. The applicant is Summit Oilfield Servicing. They are the legal landowner. The legal land description is Southeast 373-6 west to the 5th near Mooney Creek in the Municipal District of Lesser Slave River. The proposal is to redistrict the subject lands from commercial to light industrial to facilitate the development of an industrial shop on this lot to go with the current uses, which is a camp facility, office, and equipment storage. The municipal government, in accordance with section 231 of the Municipal Government Act, Town Council must give bylaw 15-2024 first reading and hold the required public hearing prior to passing a resolution. First reading was given to bylaw 15-2024 on August 20th, 2024. The intermunicipal development plan, the subject lands are located within the referral area of the intermunicipal development plan and in accordance with the intermunicipal development plan map, figure 4.5, they maintain a commercial land use designation and as such require a plan amendment. The Municipal Planning Commission reviewed this application at its September 9th, 2024 meeting and have no concerns and support the application. Bylaw 15-2024 was advertised on the town's webpage for a period of 3 weeks, and to date, we have received no comments either for or against the amendment to the intermunicipal development plan. So for discussion, this bylaw is introduced to council to hold the required public hearing and for consideration for second and third reading. Only one plan amendment is required for this application. The landowner would like to develop a shop on site to grow the operation of a business. Historically, these lands were vacant, undeveloped, and were being used as horse pasture. The lands have also previously housed an industrial camp with a dining hall in the past. The applicant operates an oil field contracting business in Slave Lake and began to utilize this parcel for additional storage of industrial equipment, including dozers, excavators, piping and steel, pipeline equipment, and a tent shed. The storage use was accompanied by an office trailer to create office security facilities on site. And at that time, administration had discussions with the Municipal District of Lesser Slave River, who indicated that the applicant would likely want to intensify the use of these lands in the future to an industrial use. Both the town and MD Planning and Development Departments agreed that the applicant or landowner should apply to amend the intermunicipal development plan and the MD's land use bylaw to redesignate and rezone the lands from commercial to industrial when they wanted to intensify use. So your options are you could give second and third reading or defeat on second reading. Notice of the public hearing for bylaw 15/2024 was advertised on the town's website as mentioned for a period of 3 weeks. And referral letters were sent to adjacent property owners. At this time, the planning department has no concerns with this application and recommends council give bylaw 15/2024 second and third reading.
Are there any questions for planning and development? Okay, thank you. I will now call forward any, those in favor of the bylaw that wish to speak. Those in favor?
I'm in favor, but she's.
Come speak.
Just come speak, even to say that.
I'm just kidding.
You can just state your name and address, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Kelly Edelman, box 1167 Slave Lake. The owner of the land is Summit Oilfield. That's the holdco. The operating company is Prax. Yeah, it's been a little challenging to get the development permits for the property just because of the zoning. They've all gone through, but the MD thought it would be best if we did rezone to light industrial. It would suit our purposes. It's a little restrictive at the commercial. Commercial would be more for like a gas station or a car wash or something like that. So we were hoping that the town would approve this.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kelly. Next, anyone else in favor of the bylaw that wishes to speak? Okay, as I see none, any of those opposed to the bylaw? Those opposed? And any person deemed to be affected who wishes to be heard? Okay, as I see none, I will now state that the public hearing is closed. And then this will come back during reports and new business for the voting. We'll move forward into our delegations. We have the Slave Lake On Watch Association up first. If you want to state your name and address into the mic, that would be greatly appreciated.
Cindy Irvin, 212, you need my address? 212 8th Street Southwest.
Lynn Bowes, P O Box 1522, Slave Lake.
Fantastic. The floor is yours, ladies.
So we had previously been here in June just to present ourselves and what we were about. And at that time, we'd said that after a couple of months, we'll come back and give you some statistics of what's been going on. Before I say that, I just want to say we have these lovely brochures now. And actually, I've popped some in the out at the front office there, just because we had got these. So
Fantastic. Thank you.
So since the last time we're here, we had our initial meeting with the RCMP liaison officer in mid-June. And then we met a couple of weeks later. In early July, Slave Lake On Watch members had a meeting with Apex Security just to get to know the members, talk about how we were going to be able to function best together. Apex had given Slave Lake On Watch a direct contact number. So when we're on patrol and we see anything, we can text or call them directly. If we are out on patrol and we see Apex, if there's not a lot going on, we have pulled over with them and chatted about how things are going. Another thing that the board did is we contacted some of the businesses in town, specifically in the industrial area, because they are fairly large pieces of land. And we had just asked them if we had permission to enter their premises while we were patrolling. And we had an overwhelming, yep, not a problem. You know, it's not the agent program, but it's more, if you've ever drove in the industrial park and there's a lot of chain link fence, a lot of darkness. So it was just more that we could, you know, expand our patrols when we're going out. We also had beginning of August, we had a members barbecue just as a social event. And lately, we just met with the RCMP at the end of August. We have a new liaison officer, and we're continuing trying to work on having some more direct communication with them. They have now given us a specific RCMP COP email, just because there still is some issues trying to check in. So we're just trying to try and close that gap for when they know that we're out there. So some of the stats, now keep in mind, we, first few weeks of being on patrols, we were all trying to learn the new app. And actually, for those of us who have Samsungs or Androids, they had to do an update to the app at the end of August. But basically, we had at least 26 patrols. We covered 1,319 kilometers and logged 138.3 man hours. And the man hours, if there's 2 people in a car, then 1 hour is 2 hours. 39 events were recorded. 2 of these were calling the RCMP or an ambulance service and calling or texting Apex 24 times. Patrols have happened anywhere between 8 p.m. and 5 a.m. They have been anywhere from an hour to 4 hours long. Generally, we seem to be in the 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. timeframe. And we have been all over town. Actually, I didn't get it into the presentation, but if anybody wanted to look, I've done some copies of some of our patrols. And actually, if you can see, there's a map of town, and the blue is where the patrol was in that time period. And that comes right from our ACOPA app, what we've been doing. Basically, 92% of the events that we witness are the vagrancy, the intoxication, suspicious persons, which is not just with a hoodie on, but a hoodie on, hoodie up, masks, people dumpster diving, walking into the bushes at known encampment. And the thing is that you can see a lot of the times it's the same people that we see. And part of our thing is, we have seen a lot of stuff seems to happen around 10 to 11, usually around Main Street and that. But our app, I've logged every event, what time, where it was, and everything. And so that's it for Slave Lake On Watch stats. If anyone has any questions.
Counselor Moallem?
I see and hear all sorts of positive feedback about having you guys in our community. I know our council has added a whole bunch of different elements, but I'm happy that to see you guys patrolling not just the industrial area, but the main streets as well. I'm wondering how many members do you guys have right now?
We haven't increased since the end of June, so we've got about 30 members. 25 of them are trained. And I know I wrote it down, figured it out. There's about 15, 16 that are kind of regular patrollers. There's some that are out every week, some that are every couple of weeks. We're hoping that things will kind of maybe stabilize a bit now that everybody's went back to school and that. I mean, summertime, it was hit and miss sometimes. Some weekends, although sometimes you went out and went, yeah, let's go out from 10 to midnight. Comes around to midnight and you're like, are you tired? No. Okay, well, let's keep driving. And you end up with a 3-4 hour patrol just because you had nothing else to do.
I have another question.
Continue.
So have you noticed that, nighttime activity has gone down now that kind of we're on the kind of the edge of summer and the early fall, now September? Like, do you see it kind of dwindling off, or is it still like picking up, or is it about the same?
It's about the same. And it seems you seem to have where you'll go for a little bit and there won't be a lot. And then there seems to be a pickup. And, it's staying about the same. I mean, on an average, 3 to 5 events on a 2 to 3 hour patrol is what we seem to be seeing. 3 seems to be a fairly common number for our events that we call them.
And you'd think that are the same people, like day to day for the most part?
For the most part, yeah. Because you're seeing it's quite honestly, it's the same people. It's, was out a week or so ago. It's the van dropping off people at the encampment by the college. And then you'd see the people gathered just at the college or going across to McDonald's. And then actually behind Alamos, Dom's, the Citizens Park. That also seems to be a fair gathering place that you can kind of watch people walking around. Beginning of summer seemed to be a lot more at 7-Eleven. And that seems to have petered off. So I don't know if that was 7-Eleven or Apex, RCMP, but it just seems to have moved out. So, I mean, now, like I said, it's College and over at Citizens Park, where it will be a month from now. I couldn't tell you.
One thing I've noticed is weather doesn't really matter. The only day I didn't really see them out a lot was when we had an extreme downpour. But they've even out during the rain and stuff. So that's even in the winter time, we see them.
Thank you very much.
Counselor Hughes?
What would you guys be able to tell us about your working relationship with Apex? As everyone in the community knows, we have hired a security company. That is going to be a topic of discussion later tonight. And we do have reports from several other stakeholders, but not any comments from you guys and your group. So I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
I can say that our working relationship with Apex has been excellent. In fact, we actually are on first name basis with a lot of them. If you see them around, I've been not on patrol and have seen them, and they've stopped and chatted to me because they know if there's a new person, the new senior member that come into town. Actually, when the fire happened in the industrial park, I was over there because it was my ex had a bay there. Anyways, we're standing there and one of the Apex guys was there, came over, chatted to me, and then took me over to introduce me because it was a new senior member who was there. And, you know, we've been on patrol. If it's been quiet, we'll put our vehicles beside each other, sit and chat. You wave to them, whether you're on patrol or not. And, you know, as far as there was an incident last night, actually, a citizen called the 1-800 number, but got an out of office message. And this person knew one of the board members, contacted them and said, can you get a hold of Apex? And we said, yeah. And so actually not being on patrol, I just texted them and said, here's the message from a citizen. And the reply I got back was en route. And it's, you know, we have noticed that if you text them, unless they are tied up with something else, you see them within a minute or two. I know a lot of people have, you know, commented on, well, I don't ever see them around town. And I know that there's been times I've been on patrol and have drove all over the place and have not seen them. But the fact is, if they're driving around, they could literally be driving behind me, whatever. Other days you see them every fourth block when you're driving around. So, but I can say that, I mean, like I said, we have a great relationship with them. We've been really happy with working with them out there.
Sorry, shut this off. Thank you for that feedback. Other question, I think it's just about your patrolling, like you're saying that your majority of patrols are happening that 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. Is that every night? Do you have people on the road 7 days a week, every night from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m.?
No.
Okay.
With our patrols, it's basically been when people have been out. Now, there has been people out on, we don't necessarily focus on Thursday to Saturday. That is when a lot of people do go out just because it's easier to stay up late if I don't have to go to work in the morning.
Right.
But we have had people out, you know, 8 to 10, Monday, Tuesday. We have been out every day of the week. We don't have enough people right now or enough people outgoing that we are out every day.
Mm-hmm.
We are out at least weekly.
Mhm.
There's at least a couple of patrols out.
Okay.
And like I said, just most of them seem to happen from 8 to 1. Just that seems to be a nice time. People are done with
Mhm.
suppers, that kind of stuff, go out. You know, 8 to 10 p.m. is a nice time because it means that you're back home,
Yeah.
can get up and go to work the next day.
Right.
Weekends tend to be out. We've got some retired people who have done the 2 to 5 a.m. shift because if you can't sleep, and quite honestly, there's been times we've got a WhatsApp conversation and there'll be people, you know, 10, 11 o'clock. Hey, anybody want to go out? Yeah, sure. Pick me up in 20 minutes.
Right.
And a lot of our patrols actually happen that way where you're sitting there going, yeah, I'm not doing anything. And all of a sudden you hook up. And so we are looking at, some people don't seem to be as up on WhatsApp. So we are We have a board meeting with the RCMP in September, but we're going to have a full COP members meeting in October. And we want to talk to people and go, how can we better facilitate our communication with our own group?
Yes.
That sounds great. One other question. If you, obviously the goal would be to have a full schedule, like every slot filled all the time.
Oh, yeah.
How many more volunteers would you guys need to achieve the full goal of coverage that you guys would like to see?
Double,
At least.
20, another 20 to 30.
Okay.
Yeah, about double what we have now.
Okay, thank you.
Did you want to,
One more question.
Sure.
So as a community, what can we as a council do to help support you moving forward?
Honestly, you guys have shown up to meetings. We were part of the parade of programs. At this point, we did talk to a few people at parade of programs. A lot of the people were coming up and it was, thank you for going out and doing this and this kind of stuff. We did have a few people interested. There's actually the ACOPA AGM is this weekend in Red Deer. And our Vice President Mercedes is at it. And I think it's going to be one of the things is to network with other COP programs. What do they do? Is there ways, we've talked about having like a fall supper, kind of a community event kind of thing to try and attract people. So, I mean, at this point, it's been great being able to come and do the delegations, and we've just kind of got to, I'd hate to have a lot of crime come in to have more people be noticed, but yeah.
Just how being supportive of us is a big influencer.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you feel like the interest level's dying off? Like, oh, they already got it covered and that's their thing? Like,
I don't feel like it, just because, like I said, when we were at Parade of Programs, you had so many people coming up. Thank you for going out there. Thank you for doing this and this type of thing. So to me, it's obvious that people are noticing. It's how do we get ourselves noticed more?
entice them to join kind of thing, is what you're
Yeah.
looking for?
Get people
Yeah.
engaged to join.
And one of the things, like I said, at Parade of Programs, we did hand out, we had about 5 people that came and got applications, and Mercedes has their number so that she can follow up with them and see. And like I said, I'm kind of, honestly, what is easy starting in summertime when people are on holidays and, who wants to do anything when you just want to sit on the lake or on the beach. So
Yeah.
hoping that now, back to school, maybe we can get some more people, maybe get a bit more regular schedule.
okay, and then I see in here, we have a report regarding,
Yeah, I kind of added that in. That's what I talked to Ashley about. So it's just not as citizens on patrol, just as citizens. We would just like to bring forward the idea to the mayor and council of either amending bylaw 22-2017 or creating a new bylaw with respect to dumpsters within the town limits. And I said not for citizens on patrol, and then I put SWAL on citizens on patrol patrols, and or just even we've noticed it driving around. We have witnessed persons in dumpsters going through them. We've witnessed garbage that is thrown outside of the dumpsters. It gets blown around. Last week on Facebook, I don't know if anybody else saw it, but it was the mama and her cub, and she was in a dumpster. And I mean, that's something that is regular every year at this time with the bears in town. And so we just believe it would be in the best interests of town if businesses or individuals who have the garbage dumpsters were to have them locked. So it reduces the impact of garbage being distributed around our community, as well as hopefully inhibiting the wildlife a little bit from foraging in them. And this should also include a prohibition on persons scavenging waste from containers. In the town's bylaw 22-2017, it discusses that no owner or occupant of a property shall have or allow on the property the accumulation of A, any material that creates unpleasant odor, B, any material likely to attract animals, pests, or wildlife, C, animal remains, parts of animal remains or animal feces, or D, loose garbage and bagged garbage. And quite honestly, I do feel sorry for owners who's had their dumpsters gone through, because then they're the ones who are expected to clean them up. Yet they're the ones that didn't have it. And just like with our residential garbage collection, where I know that my garbage is collected every day on every Friday, businesses or individuals with dumpsters would be on a scheduled pickup, or if they were calling to pick it up. So as far as unlocking the dumpster for when pickup came, I don't believe that would be an issue. And just thank you for your time and consideration on this matter. We believe that it would be a positive step forward in our community. That's it.
Any further questions? All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, guys. Okay, our next delegation is, pardon? Oh, motion on the floor.
Well, I'll make a motion to accept the report as information from the delegation.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call the question, those in favor. And that is carried. And then we have our next delegation is the Mascot Medical Center. If you'd like to state your name and address for the mic, that would be great.
Yeah, I'm Ken Drysdale from Grand Prairie, farm just outside the city. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council, for accepting this presentation on such short notice. Just for my own interest, have you heard of our project before in the last year that we've been pursuing this?
I have not personally, but
Okay. But you're aware of the mandate from the Premier to have the University of Calgary work with Lethbridge and the University of Edmonton work with Northwest Polytechnic. And so some of that's related to what we're doing here. So we're, so yeah, slide, got to get you someone else running the slide. Who we are, we're trying to improve the quality of health and or life and health outcomes in Northwest Alberta. Mascot is an innovative Alberta-based not-for-profit registered charity right to Ottawa, committed to accelerating the process and improving access to medical specialists and family physicians. Any surplus funds from our raising of donor money or tenancy of the building will be reinvested back into research and education in the medical field in the Northwest. Slide. Mascot is a Cree word meaning bear. If you ask any elder or Indigenous person in the region, a bear found a lost child with the knowledge of teaching and medicine and returned him to his parents. And it's a powerful spirit used in the traditional ceremony. How I come up with that name in 2017, I asked Jacqueline Cardinal from the Sucker Creek community where she grew up to find me a couple of names that meant something to the Indigenous communities in the Northwest. And that's how I come up with the name. She gave me a couple others, but I chose the bear because I knew I was taking on a difficult culture in the province. Okay, as we know, the Peace region is one of the best places to live in the world and raise a family. That's why we live here. That's why you do what you do, and that's why I do what I do to try and improve our communities. Yet our residents have poor health outcomes. Our health system is bogged down, and our valued healthcare professionals are tired and frustrated, and that's just plain wrong. Led by residents, Peace Region, Mascot was brought together by a shared common goal of improving health outcomes in northern communities. Slide. Here's our board members from Grand Prairie. They're all volunteers, local businessmen, lawyers, accountants, insurance, marketing. Dr. Hugo Pertuzzi put his name forward to help us with a clinic. Because what I'm explaining to you here, there's two parts to the Mascot project. One is we started out wanting to have a collaborative specialist clinic in Grand Prairie and have been working with the government since 2018. On that, we've gone through 3 premiers, 4 health ministers, and several deputy ministers of Alberta Health and AHS. So we have currently an ARP in with the Alberta government since January of 2023, when Minister Copping was the health minister, and I've been working with Minister LaGrange ever since January of this year. Next slide. There will be no fees charged to patients. It's funded through the Innovative ARP arrangement, which is an alternative relationship program with the government to help pay for the specialists and staff within our clinic and be able to serve the community. Specialists in our clinic, we're working with the government to have them salaried Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, so they have time with each patient that comes to our clinic. Today, as you know, with the current fee-for-service system, it's they're just only spend 15, 20 minutes and then they get on with another patient. The financial and operational performance of Mascot is overseen by a board of directors and accountable to the government of Alberta for its billing to the Alberta Health Care Plan for the services of physician and specialists in the diagnosis of diseases and its use of public funds to provide services. Slide. So change in health outcomes in Northwest Alberta. Slide. Right now, currently, you're 17 to 18 weeks to see a specialist in rural Alberta. 1993, it was 4 weeks, and it's continually going up. In 2021, it was 16.5. Next slide. Currently in rural Alberta, our access to specialists is 0.06 per every 1,000 residents, and in urban, it's 2.29. So you see we're by out, 6 to 1 odds of seeing a specialist. Slide. So our innovative not-for-profit model will help the Peace region in 3 key ways: improve access to specialists and quality of care for patients in the region, not only help retain, but also attract doctors to the area. No overall increase to healthcare costs for the healthcare system will reduce long-term healthcare costs. A lot of our learning of these outcomes is since 2017, we had a partnership with the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, and they put an international team with us and met with our board once a month for an hour, walking us through the process of how to be successful with a medical center in a rural area. Next slide. Our goal is to get patients set up for a treatment plan within 10 days of walking through the center doors. That's the diagnostic clinic. Mascot vows to ensure patients do not get stuck in the referral system by using virtual conferencing technology. This process philosophy will save time and money for patients and caregivers related to taking time away from work, travel, and accommodations. As you know, currently we all run to Edmonton, Calgary, Red Deer, everywhere but Slave Lake to get our diagnosis done. And this way here, if we can do virtual and set up silo offices in a place like Slave Lake and they could virtual into our specialists, then maybe a lot of the local residents wouldn't have to leave the area. Slide. Here's the current system. You go to the family physician with an illness. He tries to diagnose the treatment, puts you on a treatment plan. It doesn't work. You go out and see a specialist. If they weren't able to find it right away, you go back into the system and you could go around the cycle several times. And quite often it's 2 to 2.5 years before you get diagnosed. And quite often the response is, if we'd have caught it a year ago, the outcome would be different. Next slide. Here's our plan and our goal. And following along what we learned through our Mayo partnership is the family physician refers you to the clinic, or we have a helpline that you can call. And then we have a team of specialists that look at the file and the results. May want a few tests done and have you come back in a few days with hopefully a result of a treatment plan. Slide. Our partners working with the University of Alberta and the family physicians through innovative technology and virtual conferencing. The Mascot clinic specialists will collaborate with panels of specialists from across the province in Western Canada. The specialists could even be retired or semi-retired, living in Victoria, but we're working on some app programs that we could reach out to them and they'd still like to participate in the health system. Through referrals and a collaborative team approach, physician will work closely with the Mascua Medical Center to refer their challenging cases and get timely access. Working together with physicians, the Mascua Center will find ways to improve the case workload and hours worked for medical staff to improve their quality of life. Slide. Mascua Medical Center overview and key partnerships. Slide. This is the facility part now that we're going to talk about. As I said, we started out just doing the clinic. Year and a half ago, the University of Alberta reached out to us right after the first mandate by the Premier in November 2022 and wanted to meet with us. They heard what we were trying to do. And at the end of a meeting with them, I asked them how come they phoned us, and they said, well, if we wait on government to get this expansion done by 2026, it'll be 8 to 10 years. And by what we hear in your group and a local community doing, we're hoping you could get us something built by the end of 2026. Slide. Here's where our clinic will be. I'm not sure how many has been to Grand Prairie New Hospital, but there's a parkade on the north side of a 2-acre park lot, and the hospital emergency is on the east side. And we're just working on a lease agreement with NWP. Alberta Infrastructure just handed them the land back a couple of months ago into a land trust. We tried to buy it, but they're only allowed to lease it. So we're positioning our facility on that and hoping to have a pedway tied in across to the pedway that goes into the hospital. So anyone working in this building can go back and forth through all weather seasons. Slide. Here's our 3 floors that we've got designed. The facility is over 100,000 square feet, which includes a parkade underneath. The first floor will be the academic teaching clinic for the U of A, 22,000 square feet. They'll have 20 family physicians in there training 20 students on extended hours and weekends, and keeping it open extended hours. It's a 2-year program to become a family physician after your undergrad. And so they'll graduate, they'll have 20 in, graduate, and 10 a year out in the community. And the first year will move up to second, and 10 new ones come in. The second floor is going to be kind of wraparound services for the area. Retail for pharmacy, medical supply business with consultants. So if someone's released from the hospital, they can load up a cart, go over and arm the family before they leave with whatever they need. Also a daycare for the staff at the hospital and professionals, and also the NWP students that are in the medical program. It's going to be a 24-hour daycare capable of handling 80 to 100 children per shift. And also a restaurant, which the hospital doesn't have at this time. The third floor will be our Mascua Medical Specialist Clinic. Currently, we have a design for 14 specialist offices, 10 exam rooms, 1 day surgery room, and a lounge for the doctors to get away from work. Slide. So here's the program of the University of Alberta. It's 22,000 square feet on that ground floor, 20 residency doctors on site, and 10 graduate in a year. Each graduated family physician will have the training to see between 900 to 11 patients per year in the community in which they work. So this facility will be able to manage 13 to 15,000 visits per year. And a lot of the walk-ins at our emergency, which happens at every regional hospital right now, is getting tied up with people that should be seeing family physicians. So 50% of them visiting the Grand Prairie one should be going to a family physician clinic. So they'll transfer them across to here and help keep the pressure off the emergency ward. Slide. So recruit, train rural, and retain rural. The Mascua Medical Center is a key partner in training for medical program, and will house a teaching clinic. Extended hours of practice on weekends. If you call, the doctor will answer, not a staff member. We're working with the Northern Alberta Medical Program, NAP, which to recruit students in rural Alberta and BC. And where our focus in working with the U of A is Northwest Alberta and Northeast BC. They're bringing down some of the previous requirements for entry into this to make sure that the rural students with certain academics can access it instead of getting pushed to the side by other students from out of the region. So if you can just imagine some students from Slave Lake wanting to go and become a doctor and go to the NWP and come back in 6 years to their community in Slave Lake or local region. They know through studies of a pilot project in Prince George, BC, that 75% of the graduates that were practicing in the rural stayed in the rural area. Slide. 2 components of the training to become a doctor. Well, the undergrad program that they're starting to work on in 2025 at NWP. They're going to have it's a 4-year program. They're going to start with 30 in each class for each year. And by the time they get to the 4-year program, there'll be 120 in that program. But through their studies, they know that certain ones go off to different medical careers and some drop out and so forth. But there should be 10 to 20 willing to move on across the street and become a family physician in our clinic. And by 2028 and 2030, the U of A is planning on teaching right up to be surgery, internal medicine, and that takes another 4 to 5 years. So a student would be in the region for anywhere from 6 to 10 years, getting what degree they want in doctorate. And by then they'd have a relationship with the community or the region. Slide. Tremendous opportunity for students working closely with the University of Alberta Medicine Group in collaboration with the Mascot Medical Center and its partners in training and employment opportunities. It'll keep the talent in our region. Having NWP, the University of Alberta, and Mascot Specialist Clinic in northern rural communities will truly benefit us all. Slide. Here's the partners we have to date. In 2021, when we first were doing a business plan for the Minister Shandro at the time, the city and 2 counties helped us out with $100,000 to build the business plan, which we handed in on July 29th, 2022, or 21, sorry. And since then, last fall, because of the movement of our project, we didn't want to wait till all the approvals were in place by the Alberta government with the U of A and NWP. So we asked our 3 communities that help us with a $1.5 million budget for design and architect of a facility to fit in front of the hospital. And they've helped us out with that. And then most recently in the last couple of months have committed $3.5 million each to the project. The reason for that is, and the rest will be financing right now through a banking institution, is if we waited to try and raise the funds, again, we wouldn't have the funds raised for 3 to 5 years to even start on the project. So they're helping us fast track, try and get shovel in the ground this fall and be able to have this facility finished by August 2026. Next slide, please. Cenovus, a stakeholder in the Grand Prairie region, heard what we're doing through their employees, phoned us and gave us $20,000 to keep going, as it takes quite a bit of money to keep it going for 6-7 years, campaigning the government and everything else. And they want to see us as soon as we got shovel in the ground. Most recently, AltaGas reached out and they're already in front of their VPs wanting to help out with the project. Support the Girls Foundation in Grand Prairie, which is a cancer group. There's 400 to 500 members. Walked up to us last February and gave us $50,000. Combined on our board, this number just jumped here the other day. There's about $500,000 that the board has committed in funds to keep it going. And we've got well over 25,000 volunteer hours and 50,000 kilometers. I just got a truck given to my national rental because I was wearing out my new pickup. So we're very gracious for that help. Slide. Here's where we're at right now. We're 95% completed our design, working on a long-term tenant agreement with the University of Alberta. Got a 60-year land agreement with NWP. It's near completion. We're just down to a couple of finer notes in a couple of paragraphs. And it's a 40-year agreement with 2 10-year renewals. Building contractor tender documents, we're pushing hard to get them out here by the end of September and hopefully back by the end of October. The EOIs for the facility tenants on the second floor, we have 4 to 5 applicants for every space so far on the floor, and we're reviewing them and going to be doing interviews throughout the end of September. Groundbreaking ceremonies, we're hoping for end of October or around there, and then see how the winter comes and at least try and get some underground civil work done and get materials ordered and that so we can hit it strong in the spring, if not sooner. If we have a winter like last winter, we could build all winter. Build construction, we're hoping to start still October, December. Capital funding, fundraising, it's in progress. We've had great success so far. Indigenous consultations, we had our project blessed in March of 2023 by an elder out of Sturgeon Lake, and we had several members from Grand Cache and Horse Lake and Sturgeon Lake at it, and it's ongoing. In our design of the building, we've left lots of space in there for Indigenous culture that we're going to engage some junior artists and some elders to help us with the program in there. Plus, we're going to have space for holistic medicine there for Indigenous and some teaching area. So slide. Our project is about 35 million budget right now, and we're trying to hold it to that. So when you say 35 million, it sounds like a big number. When you break it down as a capital investment for every man, woman, and child in the Northwest, it's $170 capital investment for each. Next slide. Benefit to the Peace Region is in 5 key ways, not only help retain, but also attract doctors to the area, improve quality of care for patients in the region, employee retention for employers in the region due to improved access to healthcare, no overall increase to healthcare costs, investment in research, education, and healthcare in Northwest. So when we break it down in the town of Slave Lake, consensus 2021, it's 6542 by 170. That's 1,112,140. That's not what our ask is here. That's just us utilizing that number for across the board to everybody. We don't know any community or town or city's financial situations or how they deal with their budgets from year to year. But whatever they can do to help is appreciated. The one ask that we do have that we'd like with is a letter of support, if you agree with our project, to Minister LaGrange and the Premier, CC and us. So far out of 12 presentations, I've gotten 10 letters, and I'm sure the others will come. Slide. So this is our building, and just to give you a quick little rundown, I'll just put it up here. Here's the U of A teaching clinic on the ground floor. This is the entrance to the parkade on this end. And the second floor is a restaurant here, and then throughout the middle will be retail and pharmaceutical. This is the daycare here. And because we were doing an underground parkade, we built a terrace over top the parkade. It's 5,600 square feet, and there's 6,000 square feet in behind there for the daycare. And then up on the third floor is going to be our medical diagnostic clinic of specialists. We've done a little bit of a strengthening, what you call kind of a superstructure of the building, because we feel that if there's enough interest, we'll put a 4th floor. We'll know that by early 2025 or mid 2025, and at least shell it in. So we're not trying to build another building in 5 years through demand. In the last week, I've had 4 calls from mental health groups and everything else in Grand Prairie wanting to know if they could be part of the building. And so far, we've already kind of got it full, so I can see that we're probably going to build a 4th floor before 2026. So that's the end of my presentation. And any questions?
Councillor Moylan.
Thank you for presenting, Ken. This is very exciting, not just for Grand Prairie, but like you said, for our whole region, Slave Lake included. You talk very passionately about this project. I want to know a little bit more about yourself. Can you tell me a little bit about your background and how you got involved with this project?
Well, spent 42 years pipelining to pay for a farm. And the farm just kept getting bigger, so I kept working. And I retired in 2022. I spent a lot of time up in the Nipissing and Wabasca area in the 80s and early 90s with Amico and them building pipelines, and lived in Slave Lake a lot at the time and worked a lot with the Indigenous communities out in this region. And what happened that got me into the medical field was my wife got diagnosed with cancer in Christmas of 2002. She'd been going to the doctors for 2 years, telling them there's something wrong with her breast. And they kept telling her, don't worry about it, it's nothing. And at Christmas, I get a little emotional sometimes. Anyway, at Christmas, she got diagnosed with stage 4 and given 30% chance to make 5 years. She's still here today, but went through hell. She's had her shoulder replaced 7 times, her hips and stuff. And she was a very active, athletic 40-year-old when it happened. And so through all that, through the years, we thought we had it beat. And then we went to the cross in Edmonton in 2008. They said, get your finances in order. You got maybe 4 months. So we phoned Scottsdale, Arizona Mayo Clinic. We had a relationship there. They immediately sent us to the mother company in Rochester, Minnesota. And when we got down there and they did some testing, they said, no, they got it wrong. It's residue, it's this and that. So we created a relationship with Rochester, Minnesota. And the longer we stayed in Alberta trying to do stuff that was happening year to year, we found that we always had to go to Rochester every year almost just to get off the pills that were being prescribed or get more advice on stuff. And 2017, we got back from a break in Hawaii in March, ran around for 6 weeks because her shoulder was turning color and getting hot. And all they wanted to do was open her shoulder up. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. She had an implant, shoulder replacement. And we went to Rochester in 2 hours. They told us what it was. They said it was on the test. Somebody read it wrong. It's a bacteria attacked the implant. That shoulder has to come out again. And so we got out in the foyer and I looked at my wife and said, that's enough. That's enough of people going through that in a system that's failing. So since we got back, we met with even Premier Notley and her group. They liked it. She didn't even tell me to go home. So through all these premiers and health ministers, they like the idea. It's just trying to change the system. It's taken time, but we're not quitting. Most of the people you see on our board's been affected by health. I'm sure everybody in this room has been or has a family member, a neighbor, a friend. And I just don't think that we need to sit back and put up with it. And one thing we learned through our relationship with the Mayo, working with us each month, was they taught us that they thought they could populate North America with Mayo clinics. Because when I first sat with their directors the next day after 2017, when they told her about her shoulder, I asked if I could meet who runs this joint. 3 days, the next day, actually, the directors met with me and they asked what they could do. I said, would you consider building a Mayo clinic in Western Canada so we could get your system into Canada? They said, absolutely not, but we'll partner with you. The next day, switching planes in Chicago, my phone chimed and I had a partnership with the Mayo, me and my wife. I asked them, why do you do a partnership? They said, because they thought they could populate North America with Mayo clinics. That's why you have Scottsdale in Florida. But they could never get them facilities up to the same care that they mandated at the mother company in Rochester. Then they started partnering with people around the world and they exceeded their expectations within a very short time. And they found, because it was driven by entrepreneurs in the community and looking after each other. And so that's why they started partnering, and they don't build facilities anymore. They just partner. So through all that, I think they have something, and I think we need it here in the province, something similar. It doesn't have to be that, because I made a mistake when I first come back using the word Mayo, and everyone thought you had to write a check to come to our clinic. That was never the intent. It was just the concept. So that's my history with medical, but I'm a farmer outside of Grand Prairie. I know nothing about the medical.
I applaud you on your passion and your perseverance. Thank you.
Counselor Gromlich.
Thank you for the report. Now, thank you for sharing your story. Question, where are your MLAs like Ron Weeb and Nolan Dick? Are they supportive of this?
Oh, yeah, they're
Yeah.
battling hard for us, yeah.
So, and then Minister LaGrange is kind of on board.
Yeah, when I met with her in January, it took from the election last year to January to get a meeting with her, which was upsetting to me at the time because we had this thing really moving prior to last year's election. And I finally got a meeting with her and she said, I love this. This is great. And she assigned an ADM to us and she said, I want this moving forward. We're still struggling a little bit because they're figuring out doctor compensation right now with the Alberta Medical Association. So they've kind of held us off a little bit, but we're starting to put the pressure on again and we're hoping to meet with Minister LaGrange before October or in October. So.
Okay, and you mentioned like Indigenous content a few times, and I'm sure you've thought of everything, but just have you thought of Indigenous partnerships? I know like Enoch is getting like a $50 million surgical facility and a $30 million treatment center by partnering with the province and some federal money. Have you guys explored that avenue at all?
I've explored the federal part through Chris Workington, and he said currently with Grand Prairie and with the way we're set up, it wouldn't. He said, don't really waste your time right now. And I know Enoch because of the pipeline stuff. I worked with them a bit there on the Kinder Morgan pipeline. They're a very forward, well-recognized group. Like it's, us up in the Northwest and stuff don't have the clout that they do. And talking with Sturgeon Lake and stuff is, we're going to work on that. But right now, I just want to get this thing going and get them involved in it. I even did consider trying to get them to buy the land, the 2 acres, and get it under Indigenous land title. But that takes time. And
what about adding like one of the full-on treatment centers where they're promising to build 11 more? And if you added that under this roof, that might get the wheels more faster or something? Just giving some small ideas.
It's a good idea, Sean. Yeah, I'll pursue it for sure.
Counselor Hughes.
Just a quick comment from myself. Thank you so much for your presentation and for sharing your story. I've actually heard about this project before from the Northwest Alberta Foundation. So I was at just a conference that they were holding here in town, giving some funds away as well. And they seem to be a really excited partner with you guys on this project, which is wonderful. It's going to be a huge asset for Northwest Alberta. So, and on that note, I would like to make a motion as well. That we task administration to provide a letter of support to Ken here from the town of Slave Lake to Minister LaGrange and other representatives of the government.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Fantastic. We have a motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion on that? Call to question those in favor. And that is carried.
Okay.
And we'll make sure we CC your group on that.
Yeah, and we'll keep you posted how we're progressing. And what I'd like to do once we get shovel in the ground, I'd like a representative from these regions to twice a year meet and bring what they see in their community as the need, so we can work with the government and the U of A to try and make sure that those doctors get spread out here too, and virtual technology and stuff to come to our clinic with specialists. So
well, we have the Tri-Council Health Committee, which is the MD 124 and Sarge First Nation and ourselves. And I think that would be a great connection there in order to have the representatives that could be from those groups, because it's all elected officials in that.
yeah, no, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Councilor Gromlich.
Make a motion to accept the report as information.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call to question those in favor. And that is carried. And we are going to take a 5-minute recess before going into business arising from delegations.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, moving forward into business arising from delegations. So we did have a request from Slave Lake on Watch regarding the potential review of the bylaw regarding locking of dumpsters.
Yeah.
Is there appetite on council to have administration review that and bring that back? Councilor Graham.
Yeah, sure. I think there'll be a couple things like apartment buildings and stuff where there'll be issues, but if it's not too much work, I'll make a motion to task administration to bring back a report and see if that's plausible or even possible.
And perhaps, as always, for Councillor Adams, who is absent this evening, some comparisons from other municipalities that may have similar bylaws.
Smart.
In
The
place.
date of when's budget? How about the end of November? Is that enough time, Jeffrey? Perfect.
Okay.
I was just gonna comment as well, just to one of the points that Lynn made in reference to locks for everything. I do know I have a commercial dumpster as well, and the company who empties it, they just keep that on file. So they take it off themselves, they dump it, and then they relock. So I'm going to assume these businesses will already have that kind of mechanism in
There are
place to be
very
able
few
to.
Garbage removal businesses in town, so I assume they would.
Yeah. So just to my point there, I don't know if I see that as a big hurdle. Should be workable.
Fantastic. Okay, motion on the floor for the report with the date of the end of November. Any further discussion? Call to question those in favor. And that is carried. We already made the motion for the medical center, so we can move into application to amend the intermunicipal plan bylaw 24-2014, redistricting bylaw 15-2024. And the report in the online agenda is up back with the public hearing, so there is no additional report as it is the same.
Nothing changed.
Nothing changed. Councilor Graham.
I'll move that bylaw number 15-2024 to amend the intermunicipal development plan map figure 4.5 of the intermunicipal development plan bylaw number 24-2014 by redistricting southeast 3-73-6 west of the 5th from commercial to industrial, receives second reading.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call to question those in favor. And that is carried. Councilor Hughes.
I move that bylaw number 15-2024 to amend the intermunicipal development plan map figure 4.5 of the intermunicipal development plan bylaw number 24-2014 by redistricting southeast 3-73-6 west of the 5th from commercial to industrial, receives third reading.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call to question those in favor. And that is carried. Thank you, Joanna. Next up, we have the Apex Security Service Level Review. And Jeff, that is yours.
Good evening. So the purpose of this report is to present to council information, statistics, and feedback gathered in regards to the Apex Security contract and its activities over the past 2.5 months, and an effort to give council the insight required to make a decision this evening on the extension or cancellation of the current Apex Security contract. On July 9th, 2024, council was presented a report from administration in which council made the decision to extend the contract for Apex Security until October 21st, 2024. A condition of this extension requires the town of Slave Lake to provide 30 days written notice on the cancellation of the contract should that be required. The report presented today collects information from multiple sources of feedback from the community, RCMP, and Apex Security on the services delivered since the start of the Apex contract on June 21st, up until including August 31st, 2024. Public engagement online survey. So over the course of 1 month, the town of Slave Lake invited residents to participate in an online engagement session, soliciting feedback on the services provided by Apex Security. 264 residents visited the information page, 193 reviewed more than one page of the information, with 53 residents completing the survey. The attached report highlights the feedback received as attached to this report tonight. The RCMP feedback. So as part of this evaluation, the RCMP detachment was asked to provide some feedback regarding their interactions with Apex Security. the occurrences in which the RCMP and Apex had worked together on, and some general comments from their membership. In addition, the RCMP provided a statistical report highlighting the calls for service received for the detachment for the town from June 21st to August 31st. In addition, the same period of time, they provided the previous 4 years of similar statistics. Although we can't make the assumption that any change noted in statistics are as a result of Apex Security's presence, we are able to have a better understanding of what has transpired in the community this summer compared to previous periods of time. Both reports from the RCMP are also attached for your reference this evening. Lastly, Apex Security Review. So Apex Security was requested to provide a summary of their activities and statistics pertaining to their contract to date, and has been attached to this report for reference. Of note, Apex dealt with 54 occurrences dealing with encampments, 68 occurrences dealing with loitering, 44 occurrences involving suspicious activity, 48 wellness checks, and 1,006 proactive patrols, totaling over 12,600 kilometers patrolled. Option has two options before them this evening. So council can choose to extend the current contract with Apex Security indefinitely, with funding from the remaining 2024 coming from the Future Expenditures Reserve and requiring permanent funding from the 2025-2026 operational budget. Or council can choose to cancel the current contract with Apex Security and provide official notice as required. If council chooses to extend the current contract with Apex Security, additional funds will need to be allocated from the Future Expenditures Reserve, as mentioned previously, with potential inclusion into the 2025 operational budget. Any decision made by council in regards to the extension or cancellation of Apex Security contract will be communicated to the residents and protective services stakeholders immediately following the decision. And there is no recommendation from administration on council to council on this matter. I've attached the 4 reports mentioned in my report to this document. I won't go over them other than the summary I've provided, assuming that council has had the opportunity to review all those documents prior to this evening.
Councillor Hughes.
Just a question with regards to the survey. So 264 residents visited the information page, it says, but only 53 residents completed the survey.
That is correct. So that we are able to track. So if they've clicked on the page, if they opened up they followed the first link that took them to the engagement project page.
Yeah.
That's what's represented in that first number, 260, whatever the number was there, 264. If they reviewed and they read through and read more than one page of that information, that was the 93 people that did that. So that's basically showing that they're engaged in the project. They were educating themselves on the information that was contained within. And so it's was important to show that there was a number of people that actually came to this project page. Now, it just didn't translate into them taking the next step of actually completing the survey.
And that is my question. Is that because the next step is for them to sign in to the system itself?
Yeah, it could potentially be, or it could be just, that they just weren't interested in providing that feedback. It's hard for me to be able to tell you that this is the reason one way or another. Because this was a decision that was impacting the residents directly of the community, different than we've done other engagements where we haven't necessarily been as concerned where the resident resides or doesn't reside, as this was a potentially a decision that was affecting the residents and or taxpayers of the community. We wanted to some extent be able to confirm that those were the ones that were providing the feedback that were being utilized for council this evening. So as such, the decision was made to require them to create accounts. Now, I think as a result of this, and I don't have it on this, but I think it's recorded in the survey or the results from our communications department, there were a number of residents that actually entered and created accounts just for this purpose. So it wasn't a prohibiting factor. It actually enabled more people. I think it was just under 20 people, maybe 19, if I recall correctly, that had created accounts to enter this survey.
Okay.
So it wasn't necessarily a downside. It was no problem for those 19 to do it that weren't previous
already
Account
not
holders
engaged. Slave Lake.
before, correct.
Okay, I'm just wondering if this is in fact a hindrance though. Like I know you're saying that it's not, but I don't know about the rest of you. When I go to take something, I kind of want to do a couple clicks, focus on the survey and move on with my day. I just don't know if this format really helped us out. Just to see that many people clicked the link but didn't participate, I find that a little bit frustrating right now. Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, just to get only 53, resident feedback is very low. And so that just doesn't really help us to make an informed decision or get a great pulse on resident engagement. So I'd love to see us. If I stop talking for a minute?
There you go.
Oh, it's you. Okay. I'd love to see us, or I guess just look at a different possibility for these in the future if it does hinder. I know you're kind of saying that it doesn't, but I did actually run into a senior who came to talk to me specifically because he said that he could not fill out the survey. Maybe he didn't want to log in. I don't know. But I would like to see us, make sure that it is as easy as possible for residents to do, because I do think that it is a bit of a drawback for maybe certain demographics. So.
Sure.
Councillor Crawford.
This has nothing to do with the report, but now we're talking about this for a second. What's the most we've ever had anyways? Like 150 people? Like the survey stats are, no matter what, we're gonna say, oh, it's only 150 to 6,000. We don't care anyway.
We've had other, I don't have the numbers with me. We've had other engagement projects where there's been higher engagement for sure. Some have been low, historically low, like the short-term rental had a substantial amount of people that had participated. I believe we did one in regards to the shelter that had a high proportion of people that were providing feedback. So we've had some topics that have really garnered interest and some that have gone by with very minimal participation. So
Yeah, the point is you could just never take this survey as exactly what we're doing and everything, because it doesn't get the full demographic of voting base or.
yeah, it would be hard to say that the 59 that responded either way, is this reflective or is this not reflective of the community, which is why you have a number of other sources of feedback for you as well tonight. What's interesting though, is even the 59 that did respond, it was kind of half and half.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that kind of speaks to my point, I guess. So I'll jump in with a little bit where I'm at, and where I'm at is extremely torn. So I was really looking to resident feedback to sort of help me to firm up a decision with where I should stand on this. And that's why I think I'm just focusing on the lack of engagement that we did receive with this, especially given that crime has been such a hot topic within the community. I am genuinely surprised that we did get such a low engagement. I'll just leave it at that for now. I'm extremely torn on the right decision moving forward at this point in time.
Councillor Mallam.
I think I echo a lot of the comments from Kim. I think coming into this meeting, I was pretty close to 50-50. Not necessarily knowing exactly 100% which one is the correct answer. I think having the Slave Lake On Watch Association come in here and present and give us their approval for the project as well, and talk about their communication and how they've helped the On Watch grow and be stronger within our region. I think that that helps my thinking a little bit. Moving into today, this was always supposed to be kind of a temporary. This wasn't going to be a permanent decision, I don't think, for me anyway. It was kind of just starting to get us through the summer and see where it goes. I'd like to see maybe potentially just maybe another 2 months and then go from there.
Councillor Choba.
Thank you. Similar to both Councillor Moallim and Councillor Hughes, coming in today, I was a bit firm, and for me it was tied to a couple of things. I think it was clear that this was supposed to be a temporary fix, with the hope that we would provide support to our community. I think for me, I still stand where part of my conversation the last time was around the RCMP, and I'm glad that we've seen some increased presence with RCMP. I struggle with just going indefinitely with Apex right now, just because I know there's budgetary implications to that as well, and one that will impact our community, whatever that looks like. And so I don't know if indefinitely will be where I would stand, but maybe over a month or two, so that we can get into our conversations around budgets and money and see how we can kind of address that short term, but definitely not a long term. I also struggle with the feedback we got. I don't know if we want to extend the feedback. I think we should, just because 53 responses for a topic that was a hot topic in our community. I don't think that's a true reflection. And I don't know what it is. I'm just going to piggyback off what Councillor Hughes said. Maybe it's not as easily accessible as we think it is. And so I'm looking to administration to kind of work through that and see what that will bring. But definitely, I feel like there needs to be more responses for us to gauge where not just ourselves, but where the community lies with this service. Thank you.
Councillor Graham.
Feel like kind of we're all on the same page then, kind of torn and different ideas, like do they add extra help? Of course, right? Extra eyes, extra set of wheels. But then I did this with my wife today. Is Apex doing a good job? Yes, right? You go through all the great stuff and then you say, okay, would you like a 5% tax increase? Because that's exactly what it would cost to keep them for a whole year. And then all of a sudden, oh, well, 5% just for one new thing, right? So it comes down to dollars and cents. And you mentioned an increased police presence. I've noticed that quite a bit. I drive around all the time and I've seen the RCMP a ton, and I thought maybe, oh, it's the first week of school, but now it just keeps going. So that the level of service has changed, or maybe we're just more visual to it. It was whatever reason we've noticed that. So for me, it comes down to dollars and cents, and we can't afford that, right? And so we're waiting for budget. When budget comes, when there's a 5% tax increase, we're going to say, well, we can't afford that. We're not going to rob from everywhere else, right? To just add that. So like you guys, doing an adequate job, but I don't know if we can afford it. Well, I know we can't afford it. So I don't even know if you need a month or two. I could tell you right now at budget, we can't afford it.
My consideration, the only thought I have on that with regards to budget is we're going to be looking at our longer term plan, or we should be looking, so heads up administration, if we're not, on the longer term plan for our bylaw peace officers, and then potentially the role that the public security unit plays.
Is there?
There is a position, I believe, that is still available for peace officers that to hire for that position. And I believe there was some, and interrupt me if I'm wrong, restructuring with some of the fire department individuals to assist with bylaw. Because there was someone that was hired to kind of handle that bylaw role. Jeff, you want to?
Yeah, that's temporarily. So yeah, we do have one vacant peace officer position that's still budgeted for 2024.
Yeah.
And it is a topic of discussion for deliberations as it relates to protective services in general. Apex's contract being one of them, the peace officer program, where those two fit together. And then ultimately, we also have a substantial portion of our budget goes to the RCMP. So we're basically where we see all three of those pieces fitting in. And so that is definitely a topic of discussion. Yes, in the interim, we've utilized in-house staff to fill some of the bylaw role. However, that's just an interim fix, and actually it's probably done here within the next 6 weeks, I believe.
And that's what I was alluding to, is we've kind of put in, and as Councillor Wallem and Councillor Achoba mentioned, what we deem to be temporary measures, basically to get us to this point. And the weather is going to turn, and that will maybe change some of the vagrancy and things like that. I think we need more in-depth discussions with numbers about what our mix of public safety, municipal policing looks like. those are my 2 cents.
That, and maybe there's a possibility to change Apex's job scope to different days, different out. Maybe there is a need, but just can't afford to pay for the one.
I
we
agree.
currently have.
I don't
Yeah.
believe that we can afford with our, if we were to just tack it on to our, that's not palatable. No one wants a 5% tax increase. But what I would like to see is what other areas, what we're able to change, or if there's a service level change that we might be able to, hours, maybe different months. I don't fully know. I don't have all the answers to that. So that's where I'm torn with, in that I don't have the full picture of our municipal policing and public security, as well as we have volunteer groups as well that contribute into this. So there's a whole picture that I believe needs to be assessed further in lengthy budget discussions. Yes,
Casey, do you mind if I throw you on the spot?
but if you can come up to the mic, please.
You could say no.
I put on the spot. I'll answer whatever you want to ask.
Just from your guys' perspective, is this a tool that is helpful? Like, it's gonna help a bit no matter what, exercise, stuff. Is this something that you think Slave Lake needs to continue with law enforcement services and policing in the area? Or is it something that we could do internally, or you guys could do?
Well, I hate to echo the 50-50 thing. I asked all my members, one of them had a really positive comment and one had a not so positive comment, which goes along the 50-50 thing. I also did, as one of the counselors had mentioned, one person in the community came and approached me, said they were having issues with the survey, just off the cuff to me. So that is perhaps another thing. In terms of our interactions, yeah, you saw the report. We had 12 files through the summer. 4 of them were basically just self-generated. We created ourselves after reading the report. So without that, perhaps just 8 files from us since June 21st, I believe it was. So yeah, the summer is generally our busier months. This will be my 10th winter here, and for sure the summer is the busier month. So the summer is more of a peak time. We did have some suppression shifts and stuff on our end throughout the summer. That's something I plan on continuing, next year to kind of help with some of that. Yeah, in terms of longer term thing, I'm a taxpayer. I reside in town. A 5% increase does sound like a lot. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not in charge of the budget of the town of Slave Lake. Leave that to the professionals here, but yeah, I hate being the more of a neutral comment, but it is what it is. We've had 8 calls since then. We've been meeting regularly, sharing information. I will note that there are 2 files that we had recently that resulted in charges. We have had some issues, which I know they're working on, about there was no body cam footage, which was kind of promised to us initially. There's been some hesitation getting some notes for one of their files, repeated attempts, and we've just been struggling with that. So that could potentially be improved. I had a couple people call. They were confused about calling them. One was for domestic. I think I put it in the report there.
Right.
So some of that messaging could be confusing to some residents. I know earlier in the when this kind of first started, end of June, one of the reports had mentioned some property had been damaged at a business. I called the business owner the next day because I read the reports every day. No one had called them or followed up with them. So I was just doing it because I read that and I wanted to help them secure their business. Having said that, it may have changed more recently. I know there was a file where I believe they saw something at Walmart where they let the staff know about that. So yeah, I'm kind of torn myself. I'll leave that into your capable hands. I know in terms of our detachment, we're transitioning. I haven't really made this public yet. We're doing a media release probably in the next week or so. We're going to be transitioning our GI unit to a full-time crime reduction unit. They've already started last week, and some of the numbers last week have been awesome. So you're going to see some messaging on that in the next week or so. So there's that to consider too, but like I said, I don't have a lot of personal experience. I have a 2-year-old, so I'm not out very late at night, sadly, as much as I like to be. I've seen him driving around maybe twice since June myself, just off duty. But
Thank you.
any other questions you can ask, I'll answer.
Hold on.
Well, and I think we've talked about this before, so I don't think we would be in this situation talking about this right now if we had consistent evening patrolling of our streets. what does Slave Lake or what does your office need to do to get consistent patrolling on our streets?
Like a coverage wise, like a
Coverage
24-hour
wise, yeah.
kind of thing. So we used to have another member here and we were able, that extra member, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but that gave us enough flexibility to have 24-hour coverage around the clock. Having said that, having worked in that conditions, half of the day I would be alone. So now you're always going to have at least 2 members on all the time. When we had that extra member and when we had 24-hour coverage, you'd have some days where you'd work half the day by yourself. So there's caveats to that too, right? If you're taking so many files by yourself, you're going to have to spend one evening catching up on paperwork. That's going to take me off the road doing that kind of thing. So it's tough. I think you need a couple, perhaps more members to do that. I don't think one member would do it. It's tough. I know we try to stagger some of our shifts and have 24-hour coverage on some of our peak days of the week. But for every day of the week, I don't know any detachments around us that have that. In fact, most have at least an extra 2 hours of on call every evening. So it'd take, and I would estimate at least 1 or 2 more members. We could do it for sure full time with the one like we used to, but again, you'd have members working half the day alone.
So if we added 1 more member, does that add any other administrative staff or management to the overall structure as well?
You know, I don't know. I know provincial members, they've mandated 1 federal employee for so many provincial members. We have 2 federal employees now. So I don't know if they added 1 on the municipal side. Would that mean we would need another municipal clerk too? Because 3 of the spots are funded by the town of Slave Lake, right? So I'm not too sure that wise, but as small as our office is, there'd be room to house another member for sure.
Okay, that was going to be my next question.
Councillor Chalba.
Thank you. Before I ask my question, Casey, I just want to go back, take a step back to Apex and just say a big thank you to them because they stepped in to provide support to our community when we needed them. And for that alone, I'm very grateful, and I'm sure all the other councillors here are grateful. As we continue to have this conversation, I think one thing and I'm sure the other councillors here and the mayor echo that as well, is not a reflection of any of the work that Apex has done. It's more of the reality of where we are as a community. But now my question is to you, Staff Sergeant, is what has changed within your unit? Because now we're noticing that increased presence. I know you mentioned about having at least 1 more body and all that, and I don't know if that has happened, but what has changed that is making us see this improvement of, I'm using the word improvement because compared to what it was, what is that? Is there something that you can share around?
Yeah, I can think of 3 things off the top of my head. And again, I didn't prepare anything here. This is just me.
No, and I appreciate
coming here over here and talking.
Appreciate you jumping in, stepping up last minute kind of.
Back around maybe perhaps May, June range, we started actually having our 2 GI members do more crime reduction activities. So they've been doing a lot of stuff with our prolific offenders that they weren't doing previously. And the prolific offenders are the ones that are responsible for a large majority of crime in our area. So that's one thing. 2, we've also, I've implemented some suppression shifts on certain dates and times that we thought would be most beneficial. So that has been happening the last 2 months. And 3, I've mandated our members to do a certain amount of prolific offender checks per month. And check stops, and I didn't mandate, but I had asked to see some more violation tickets, traffic stops, warnings, which I have definitely seen increase. So those three things from us generally have been what has changed internally in the last couple months. I have gotten some other positive comments from some people around town. So that's going to continue throughout the winter.
Any more questions for Casey? Thank you.
Thank you and sorry.
Appreciate that.
No worries. And I hope you guys, wish you guys good luck with this.
Thank you. we've heard multiple results and we've seen the survey results that we do have, and then listening to Staff Sergeant Bruins there about everyone here is very in the middle. And usually we're not, usually we're quite polarized one or the other. So generally that leads me to believe we need a little bit more time. Not indefinite. I don't like that. My opinion would be is that we need to take a hard look at our plan long-term for the town with regards to our mix of bylaw, peace officers, public security unit, what funding that looks like, our municipal policing costs, what service levels we're willing to accept, and what that looks like moving forward. And I also believe we do need to take a relook at the survey. We have had other surveys that have a better response, specifically with contentious issues such as the shelter. So the shelter had, location had the strongest response we've ever seen. So I'm wondering if there was something with regards to that survey design that we have perhaps maybe missed the mark on here, that we aren't getting that feedback. So I would be of the opinion to extend potentially another month, reopen the survey and continue the harder budget discussions. That's where I'm at currently. Councillor Graham.
I was wondering, it might be interesting, although the weather and job scope changes a bit, but that whole month of November when we're having a budget, right? Might be an interesting experiment to see without Apex what we're doing, and as if stuff's arising, like, oh boy, we need these guys, we figure out a way to work it into the budget or find something else. Just food for thought. Maybe not the best idea, but it might be perfect timing to see what's up. Thoughts? Lots, none?
Processing at the moment. Anyone else want to weigh in? Councillor Hughes.
So, sorry, Frankie, you're saying, Mayor Ward, you are saying an extension from the end date right now of October 21? Like another, so add on a 30-day so that we would kind of be saying, okay, November 21st, it's winter, let's kind of take a step back, go into budget, reevaluate our entire safety plan and kind of where we plan to go from here, whether that is using bylaw or
Yeah, I think we need to.
Other
I think we need to
alternatives.
take a look at it, potentially look at it sooner, like look at it, maybe this piece will be one of the first pieces that we review in October, end of October. Jeff?
So I'll just remind council, so we're operating basically 30 days backwards.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
So if you extend to November 21st, essentially that means that you need to make a decision
October 21st.
October 21st.
Right.
And so, and likely you won't even have had a budget meeting before then, yet, because we're actually potentially scheduling them for that week of October 22nd to 20th.
Would we be able to bump this portion earlier than that?
Well, we could bring it and whenever you like to. I'm just saying that this may not actually give you a whole bunch more time. You likely won't have the protective services survey that's being done or study that's being done by Myers Norris Penny done prior to this decision, or prior to October 21st at the very least. So I don't know, by extending it 1 month, you're really buying yourself more time than me bringing back the exact same report with maybe a few more survey results.
So
Whether you
you're
think that that's
you're
gonna
saying
actually.
2 months or none is what
I
you're
say
saying.
you're gonna need at least 2 months to get you into the budget discussions at the very least. If not longer. If you're thinking of what information do you think you need to have that you don't have already?
The information that would need to come, I believe, is more survey responses, because I think there's something,
We can open the survey, but if you don't get any more responses, what?
but I actually believe we need to take a little harder look at, our communications department needs to look harder at the survey as to why the capture rate from the landing page to filling out the survey, is it too many questions? Does it look like it's going to take, if something looks like it's going to take me 20 minutes, I'm not going to do it. I don't know what that answer is. I just know when I click on surveys, there's ones I'm willing to fill out and ones I'm willing not. And clearly this is one that if you have 200 residents clicking through multiple pages and then not finishing the survey, that's to me, that says there's something wrong. What it is, I'm just speculating. The other information I would be looking for with regards to this decision would be information that comes from budget and our council sitting down and talking about our strategic plan with regards to municipal policing, public security, public safety, and obviously the bylaw and peace officer piece.
Like, how many more people need to do this survey for it to be like God's word? Like what number comes in, then we're like, oh, okay, we're gonna go with this. Just out of curiosity.
In my mind,
Or
if
the
I had
50.
seen like a few hundred, that would be great.
But even then, it's 200 people of 6,500.
Sure, and I respect that, but then the other piece of the information would be the budget. So even if we don't have any of the survey, I would like to see numbers that here's what we're paying for municipal policing, here's what our peace officer position is, here's what our plan is
Yeah,
for
that's really what it
bylaw.
comes down.
Yes, is all the
That's fair.
budget information. I would like to see more survey results if possible. Councillor Hughes and then.
Just to add on to that as well, you know, really reviewing the survey results and the commentary that came from some of the residents, I found very interesting. I think when we're talking about communication as well, I think we have more due diligence to play on our part in terms of communicating out to the public. As our staff sergeant said, the public did not understand the difference between what Apex was doing and the RCMP. I think we should make this more of an open conversation with the residents of Slave Lake, explaining what this is looking like. Talk to them about the peace officer situation, what's going on with that. I think we need to show more transparency and more open communication regarding this entire situation as much as we possibly can. I think that in itself will help results come in and help open the conversation in a much more effective manner. I think for me, you know, if you ask me right now on the spot, which way I'm going to go based on talking to people, I would say keeping Apex right now, because that is the people who have contacted me. Though that is the group that is really seeing, you know, positive efforts in the community and they want to keep them. But I also know that that is not everyone. And so weighing these pros and cons, looking at taxpayer dollars, I really want to get a good sense from the community members what is going on. And so I'm going to go as far as to say, email us, reach out to us, come accost us at work and tell us what you want us to do, because this has been made such a, well, it's been a contentious issue for months now. And so, you know, I would just encourage residents, please speak up to your council, come and find us, talk to us and tell us your thoughts on that. What do you actually want to see moving forward? But again, I think a certain level of communication and just knowledge for the benefit of residents is also something that we need to be doing.
Councillor Choba.
Yeah, just again, just going to echo everything that has just been said. Just looking at the stats, 264 residents visited the page and 53, like that's 20% or less.
There has to be.
It tells me that there's a reason, and I think maybe, I don't know, I again, like I said, I'm looking to administration to kind of guide us here on what we think that reason is and how we can address that, because definitely there's something wrong. 20% of the people that visited the page responded. That does not look like a good stat to me, and I think there's definitely something wrong. Yeah.
Councillor Boileau.
So I think if I was to make a decision today, I see the days are getting shorter. I'm just in the back of my head, if, you know, just thinking that there's going to be less people on the streets for the next 2 months. It is getting colder. Like I said, days are getting shorter. We may not need as much coverage in the evenings over those 2 months. And that's, I mean, that's the savings of about $90 some $1,000 in 2 months. Or you keep it going for 2 months and you still have that reduced coverage. And there may not be that action, I don't think, that we were seeing in the summer months. So I don't know.
You know, yeah, I read the reports every day, and even despite the cooler weather over the past week, we have encampment after encampment after encampment. And I do see a lot of warnings going out in the reports saying, you know, a warning has been issued, a warning has been issued. So I do believe we need to work on the actions of moving individuals along off of the private property and off of public property where, you know, it's ultimately not safe for any resident to be staying.
But are we going to be able to effectively do that without Apex? Who is going to move those people along?
Well, we just had reports from administration that the burden on our current town staff, even with regards to cleanup, has been excessive, and that we don't necessarily have the
Yeah.
staff to handle that currently.
And that's one of the factors that impacts my decision as well, you know, okay, so we're not spending that, but then in actuality, we have a Slave Lake cleanup crew who is made up of volunteers trying to go out and do their best job. And then we have town staff that we are now sending into these places. You know, there is a lot to unpack here, and I don't know that everyone is aware of the surroundings around that. It's hard because we don't know what we don't know, you know. I'd like to think, well, in fact, I'm pretty convinced that the effects so far this summer, to me, in my view, have been very positive in terms of garbage, in terms of vagrancy that you do see, you know, even driving around town tonight, I was just, oh, this is so nice. It's mowed. There's no garbage here. There's no person loitering. Like, there's definitely something to be said for that. And I do think that it's had a positive impact. My question, though, is I don't know that I can say 100% that all residents support us spending that amount of money for that effect, you know? And I don't know if everyone sees it. I think everyone, you know, kind of is in their own bubble in a way. And depending on where you live or what your situation is, you may not be as aware of it as other people as well. And that's what makes this job extremely challenging. And that's what makes this decision frustrating.
Councillor Chalba.
Just to add to your point, it's not just about that. It's also about the implication in terms of taxes if we keep up some of this. And I have friends that have called me and told me how they don't want that, right? I have people that have told me they don't want that. And keeping that in mind, I mean, I'm not going to just take 2 or 3 people's words and act on it. From where we're sitting, we have to do it based on the community need. Definitely there is a need in our community, but I don't know personally if it's worth the amount that we're paying for it going forward. And I think I'm in support, similar to what the mayor said, that we look at it for the next maybe 2 months. I'm not in support of anything more than that. And even that is stretching it for me. And then kind of revisit it closer to that time, which gives us, my hope, enough time to make an informed decision. Even the 2 months for me is a stretch, but it's something I'm willing to do because I feel like we don't have all the information on deck.
Let's have a question for Councillor Chalba. Like, I think if we had $1 zillion, I'd pay 4 Apex employees to go forever. I'd hire 20 more RCMP officers, right? We'd have the safest community ever, but we don't. So I'm wondering, like, what 2 months does, like, I feel like it just drains $80,000 if we're saying it's the end of it, right? Like that, like, we did this 2 months ago, right? We'll just see 2 more months. We all know we can't afford it, right? So I'm just wondering, like, if we had way more money, I'd hire way more people, but I don't. We're coming to the result, we're not finding golden parachute at budget, right? So even if Jeff comes up with all these scenarios, they might work and they might not, but at the end of the day, we can't afford Apex. It doesn't matter if he had hired 3 bylaw officers in case he got 4 more RCMP officers, or if they don't, we're still in the same spot we are right now. We can't afford it.
Right. And I think for me, I'm looking at the slightest glimmer of hope that, you know, we'll have X amount of people fill out the surveys in support of that and put us in for lack of better words, in a better place to make an informed decision for our community. And that could sometimes mean tax implication if that is the decision that our community is looking at. If they're comfortable with that, knowing all the pieces that would need to fall in place. At this point, I'm almost a no. for continuing. Because even from the start, I was more of, I think we need to hold the RCMP more accountable. I think something needs to be done with the RCMP, and I'm glad that that's changing. But for me, it's that little bit of hope that more people will comment on this, more people will be vocal about the support, and
The support or not.
or not,
Mhm.
literally, yeah.
And I agree, the cost impact in the budget is not palatable. But there are always other things that can be cut, and what it is what service levels are we willing to detract from in other areas if this is a priority? But right now, I'm struggling to figure out what the community priority is, because I hear loud and clear that public safety is important, but then I hear loud and clear that, we want our taxes to be a 0% increase. So we've got two things that ultimately can't exist at the same time. My concern, echoing some of Councillor Hughes' points, is the current impact on staff, given that the level of encampments are still quite high. And that there is no town staff or RCMP availability to do that work and to take them down. Because otherwise it would be being done. If it's not being done currently, then there is no further capacity for that to happen.
So if it's not being done currently, what are we changing?
Well, that's
It's
those,
changing nothing.
if it's not being done currently, then it would be
Also not
Apex
done
is,
currently.
Apex is handling the encampment for their presentation and the number that they've taken down and moved along. Yes, there are more popping up. We all knew that would be what occurs along with the cleanup crew going, but if we take that piece away, well, then it will have to be on our local detachment to do that as well. And what I understand is resources that they're asking for another member as well. So this is,
I just don't think it's economical.
that's where I am also, I am right in the middle on that, is for the full decision, I think we need more time, but I'm concerned at the cost for the next 2 months.
In 2 months, you could hire a staff member for a whole year,
This is
right?
true.
Like.
Yeah.
it's not
Although
economical.
previous iterations of peace officers, there was, we look at the ability to work evenings, because that's when we're looking at the coverage.
Yeah.
And in order to have staff positions work evenings, you need a lot more than one person, because generally, A, no one wants to work nights. B, you're gonna have to pay a premium for someone to do so. And C, you're gonna require more than one person in order to do that. That's reality. So one person won't provide the same level of service now. How long's the position been open?
It has been open for a while. We have interviewed some potential applicants, but we've actually put it on hold, knowing that there potentially is a review in terms of what that looks like. So, I'm confident that we'll be able to hire. But we have chosen to push pause on that hiring until a decision's made in regards to direction of protective services.
Yeah, for me, I don't care what data we get, we just can't afford it. So.
So
Councillor Hughes.
just a question for Councillor Grumlow, just to understand where he's at. So you're good. No more survey, no more anything for you. You're ready to just,
We can't afford it.
Yeah.
You could have 6,500 people say, I want this. It'd be like, okay, but then what do you want to take away?
well, that's the
It's
thing. Yeah,
5%
that's the
before you even
trade-off.
change anything else with inflation. We're gonna have a 15% tax increase. That's what this will come down to after Jeff brings us a crazy budget at some point that we have to whittle away.
Don't do that.
Like, this is 5% on one thing and it's been a great asset, but we can't afford it.
Okay, so you're ready. I'm just clarifying where you're at currently.
Yeah,
So you're
it's
ready
gonna
to
have the
let
same
this.
conversation in 2 months. We did this about last time when we were not this vocal about it because we were still tiptoeing around it, but it's the same thing. It costs a lot, but we'll give it 2 more months and we'll get through summer and like someone should just make a motion for the next 10 years or 0, because 2 months just keeps us the same thing. It's the same scenario no matter what.
Councillor Moore.
Yeah, I think right now it ends, the end of October. Sorry, Yeah, we've got it about the end of October. Usually kind of November symbolizes kind of the beginning of winter and colder temperatures. And I think just less people being outside. So, and even if I did extend for 2 months, I think that would be it. We would just, I would be buying myself 2 more months, which I'm not sure what that gives me. So I think I probably I would support, I think Sean's thinking on this and ending it at the end of October 21st.
And the other thing is you could always re-add this. You could always be, okay, we get through winter, summer's horrible. Casey could say, hey, we should get those guys back. Let's all work together. Like it.
Yeah, but I think it doesn't stop there. I think I'd like to get us maybe moving on a bylaw as well, or a peace officer in that position as well, just so we're not doing nothing for that period.
Councillor Choba.
So I guess mine is kind of like a question to admin. What needs to happen for us to get more engagement and a bit more information around this? If we were to extend this for a month, what needs to happen in the time that we have before the 21st of October? What needs to happen on your end for us to get a report or something around this?
Well, we can open up if we can easily take off the requirement to register if you feel that's a hindrance. That's easy to do. I'll tell you that like just if you don't recall what it took, I mean, you basically had to create a username, enter a password twice, say, do you live in Slave Lake and what's your postal code? That was the skill testing process that required you to get a membership on Engage Slave Lake CA, but we can remove that piece if it's a big hindrance to people.
But you did indicate that people clicked through multiple pages, which means
They click to the page. Yeah, I don't know necessarily that they had access to the survey without having access to the account. I can't tell that from here right now, and the survey's off the account anyway. So even the limited number of questions that were in the survey, I don't think would have scared them off. However, that being said, we could do that tomorrow. There was lots of promotion of the survey. It was out there a lot. We repeated it lots. Some of our partners are in the audience had also repeated it and shared on their own community pages. So to say that the presence of the survey was unknown to people I think would be hard to say. We could continue to push it every single day on Facebook if that's what you felt was going to actually result in something. In terms of anything else, you've got all the statistics that we have before you. You've got the input from the RCMP, you've got the statistics and the successes that Apex had and in their report, and it's very comprehensive. There's been discussions with Apex, I've mentioned to council before, in terms of, even future looking in terms of a possibility for them providing bylaw services if we wanted to relook at how our bylaw services were being offered. It's not necessarily relative to this conversation that's before you today, but another potential option. But with that potential option comes cost as well, right? And, you have to look at from a perspective of when do you need your bylaw services? Well, traditionally, you actually need them during the day, Monday to Friday. So, you're still addressing the issue one way or another, and it's likely going to be, there's a higher cost to providing that service through an outside third-party contractor, but you also don't have to deal with staffing. You don't have to deal with some of the O&M. So there is a little bit of a trade-off there for sure, but you're paying for that cost, right? No different than when we contract out any other services for the town, whether it's lawn care, maintenance, or whatever we do with the municipality. You're usually paying a premium for that service you're receiving. So, in terms of more data, Councilor Choba, we could easily crank this out tomorrow and take the restrictions off and push. We could set up a town hall meeting if you wanted to have people come in to speak to you. It doesn't prohibit them from reaching out to you even right now anyway. All of your contact information is online. It's on the website. They should, for the most part, residents know how to get a hold of you if they need to get a hold of you. We could push that out more if that's what you so choose. But other than that, I don't know what else you're and again, I can't guarantee that you're actually going to get, like Councillor Gramlich had mentioned, I don't know if you're going to get another 30 people that might take the time to apply or might give you some feedback, or maybe you'll get 130.
If you all go to Sobeys tomorrow, you'll talk to 100 people and they'll all hate you. So if you want to get the survey out, go to Sobeys and they'll give you their opinion when you're grocery shopping.
So we can do that. I just don't know if that's if it's going to give you what you need to make your decision at the end of the day.
So what I'm hearing admin say is that we have everything we need to make a decision here.
You know, I truly think that, yes, and I think this is part of that bigger discussion. I think you have to focus as a council as to which problem are you trying to address and what's the cost to address that problem? You know, if there's been lots of discussion and there's pros and cons for all the options. And when we talk about protective services on a whole, you look at all the different pieces. Well, you know, there's been lots of comments about police officers can do so much more, and absolutely that's 100% correct, right? They can do, you know, if there's a menu of items, they can do everything on the list. But they also, because they can do some of the top end stuff, their ability to do some of the low end stuff becomes difficult, right? Are they going to be able to spend the same amount of time that a private security firm is on low level loitering and criminal and public nuisance sort of activities? You know, I think it's probably safe to say they're probably not going to be able to do that, because they're going to be able to do and probably tied to some of the bigger stuff. So it depends on what, again, is the priority of council. Are we focusing on the bigger stuff, or are we focusing on the little stuff? Peace officers, well, they can do maybe a few less items on the menu, but they can do some provincial stuff and they can do some of this stuff. But again, do we have enough time? They have to do bylaw, you know, as part of that sort of function. It's a municipal function. So that takes them out of that rotation a little bit. And as the mayor had mentioned, you're likely going to need 2 or 3 in there to probably get a similar sort of impact or effect that you're getting right now. But where is the focus? Is it bylaws? Is it that sort of presence? Is it traffic enforcement? Well, your peace officers are going to be able to help you with that piece. If the primary focus is this low level group of individuals and encampments and stuff, you're probably best suited with a third party contractor. But there's a trade-off. So you need, I think, and that's part of this bigger review, is you need to figure out what's your priority and what's the cost of that priority to you. Because you're right, you're not going to, on any of these, you're going to require money one way or another. Increasing your bylaw, increasing your police service, increasing a third party, it's increase.
You're up to say the same thing again.
No, I'm good. I think I've exhausted my commentary on this one for this evening. Thank you.
I've said this before earlier today, but I wonder, Jeff, if you could speak to the gentleman at Apex, and when we're working on budget, maybe we're going to craft something a bit differently than this big giant one, right? There's got to be a few other options where we're using them for smaller different things. And
yeah, I think you have options in terms of, you know, how, you know, to some extent, there's probably some wiggle room in terms of price, or some wiggle room in terms of coverage. Are we 12-hour shifts, or could we live with 8-hour shifts? So I think you have some ability, you know, you have some ability there.
Significantly different,
right? Which,
like, winter's going to change.
What's that, sorry?
Winter's going to be significantly different than the summertime.
I would suggest that's probably accurate. Yes.
Anyway.
It will be, but we also don't know how much.
Well, exactly. You just phone them.
Yeah.
It's not we're not killing somebody. They're not dead forever. Oh, thank you. And again.
Come forward.
Oh.
That's the one with the mics. That's the one you're stuck with, sir.
I did put up my hand, Alan Guger with Apex, listening to everything that's going on and listening to the concerns, the budget wise and that. As a Apex manager and in that position of business development, we did put some options forward to the CAO in regards to different patterns for summer and winter. We did look at some different options in regards to bylaw, offering bylaw rather than taking and putting in 2 or 3 positions in bylaw, that we would absorb that. So some of those costs could be absorbed into our bylaw and our PSU concept. Those were put forward to the CAO in regards to that. And also we would definitely look at different options to meet the needs of the community within the budget restraints that you guys have and try and work with you guys on that.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I welcome the information. I think it's very flexible of you guys to work with that. And I look forward to seeing what those numbers are and what that specialized service, I would call it, is going to look like.
Sure. And, I think we'll be just saying this from my own peace of mind that we made a difference in the community. We would love to continue to make that difference. We'd love to support the community in a whole and make it a nice, safe environment for everybody here. So we're working towards that. We put 100% effort into the pilot project that we have here, and we're willing to work with you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely no slight in the service level, just we're poor.
Absolutely.
We have no money.
But there is a few options in there in regards to, maybe your bylaw part in that you guys can look at. And it's just wanted to mention that while I'm up here.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll go. I'll make a motion and then you guys could make one after if it doesn't work. I was just gonna direct administration to cancel the contract with 30 days notice from 30 days from the end date as per the contract. That makes sense? Kind of clear?
Yeah, the wording's actually in the report there.
Okay, well, that would have been better than me mumbling.
Well, actually, maybe the motion isn't, sorry, but that is correct.
Close enough.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Or do we have any further discussion on that?
So just for clarity, we'll just reword the motion. So essentially to cancel, or the motion is to move that administration cancel the provide notice to Apex.
30 days from the end of the contract.
Provide cancellation or notice of the contract will be canceled effective October 21st.
Okay, motion on the floor. Any further discussion?
So will we, I just want to, moving forward for a plan, moving forward, if we are canceling this then right now, what will our process be, or when will we discuss this next in terms of, this kind of maybe amended service level from them or our options?
different
When will we
contract.
discuss that?
Yeah, so that will all be part of your, and unless you decide to schedule it earlier, that would be all part of your budget review, your operational meetings that will start on your 2025, 2026 operation. Service levels are obviously part of that. This would be one of those pieces to determine what service level you're looking for and what potential cost
So
options
we
you
won't
have.
discuss it until November, December, like what's the
The
time
meeting,
look like?
yeah, so like as indicated earlier, your first budget meetings will likely start providing council is all available. And that October 22nd week is when you're scheduled to start having your budget deliberations. If you so choose to have a meeting prior to that, go for it.
Okay.
That would be the easiest thing for you is our service levels one, right? That's essentially us telling you what to do. So we could do
That
this
is
as soon as we want.
That would be when you would have that broader discussion
Okay.
as to here's some cost options for you. Here's service respective to each of those cost options and what would you like to fund?
All right. Thank you.
Any further discussion on that motion? All right, motion on the floor, call to question, those in favor. All those opposed? And that is carried.
What did you want, Ally, out of curiosity? You should have made the motion.
Okay.
Okay, CAO report. So before you tonight, and for the sake of time, I'm just going to provide a few highlights through the Chief Administrator Officer report for you tonight. Under economic development, the province admitted the MD of Opportunity into the Town of Slave Lakes program on Tuesday, August 27th. The Town of McLennan has also expressed interest in the program. And actually, we're meeting with our economic development manager today on that topic. Under occupational health and safety, planning is underway for the Health and Safety Stand Down Day, which is going to be held this Thursday, September 12th, for all of our town municipal staff. Under finance, our 2025-2026 budget preparation. So we're currently assembling the budget and conducting departmental review meetings. So that's we've already started that process currently. The interim town audit scheduled for November 2024 with auditors on site completing their work by March 2025. The annual insurance review. So we completed with Alberta Municipalities, who is our insurance provider. Significant updates were made to the 2024 to insurance schedules and coverage. Cybersecurity insurance, we're nearing the final steps needed by IT to increase the town's cybersecurity insurance coverage. And building evaluations are scheduled for 2025. So that's conducted again by Alberta Municipality. That's part of our insurance program. And they do that every 4 to 5 years. Operations, our utilities departments working, currently conducting water treatment plant renovation, mainline inspections and inventory. Public Works are looking at continuing sweeping, asphalt repairs, maintaining the recycle center and grading as needed. Planning Development Department work continues on the municipal development plan and land use bylaw rewrite project. The MDP first draft is being reviewed and work on the land use bylaw has begun. The project is currently on schedule, and to date, there have been 2 rounds of public engagement along with multiple meetings with administration and Green Space Alliance. The next steps include the review of first draft of NDP and another round of public engagement in December and continued work on the land use bylaw. Work with Nichols Applied Management has continued and a report to council will be forthcoming regarding the market analysis for housing in the town, specifically in regards to Fournier. Under our Community Services Department, special events. So this month, Slave Lake Dental sponsored a swim August 24th from 6 to 8:30. They had 90 people attend that event. They continue on with their maintenance and repairs currently. So the pool is shut down. So they're doing a main backwash, hot tub backwash, pool, hot tub has been drained. Annual shutdown is taking place right now with work to the pool. It's been drained. Under our recreation department, Summer Splash, they had a total of 114 children attend Summer Splash throughout July and August. Refunds decreased by $7,000, which indicates that people are signing up for the days that their children are actually attending camp and not signaling their child for the entire summer and then asking to be removed the day before. The playground program had an average of 15 children per day. So a suggestion for next year is to have a playground program in the southwest at Barton Park to allow this program to be more accessible to children who live in other parts of the town. And most recently, the new manager of community relations, Jessica Vermette, has joined our team and has started that role within the last couple of weeks. And other than that, that's where I will stop for this evening. Pending any questions.
Any questions? Councillor Monahan.
A little bit more about the Housing Accelerator application.
So all I can tell you is, so that was, so the federal government, the Housing Accelerator grant or program is a federal government program. As you're aware, there was a first call for applications. We had submitted an application in the first instance, which was about a year ago, and we were unsuccessful in receiving any of our projects funded. We have since submitted a new application, which I believe was just submitted this week. It encompasses a number of different initiatives that fall under the criteria. Some are planning, some are land acquisition, some are different programming that support affordable housing. I believe the number of projects that we had submitted for potentially was about $2.9 million worth of projects if we were successful in everything that we had supplied. So yeah, we have, our staff have worked along a lot of hours to put all this information in. Our grant writing position and economic development manager in support. We also had our planning development that had some significant role in part of this application. So it takes a lot of hours to submit something of this magnitude, and we're hopeful that we receive something, but it's a federal government mandate or managed grant. And so sometimes that doesn't materialize in results for us here, but we'll see.
Councillor Choba.
With the deferral of the downtown revitalization phase 3 to next year, are there any impacts to any other development projects or business operations downtown?
No.
No?
In regards to this project?
Right.
No, other than just the timing. In fact, the big business, like the brick, would have been probably one of the ones that impact. They have more sidewalk sales and things happening during the summer, right? So it was more, we were actually trying to avoid some of those. So we had minimal impact to them. Unfortunately, it just time got away from the contractor, rain didn't help. And we got through the season. So doing this at the beginning of this season will probably, if they follow the same sort of sales schedule that they have historically, probably will have a very minimal impact, if any at all.
And second question, what's the expected timeline for the MRC hot water tank installation? We just talked about when they started, but I think it just said something about.
Yeah, I don't think that the installation will take that long. I believe that was starting this week here, actually.
Right, I think it said on the 9th, I read somewhere.
I don't have any reason to believe that it's not going to be completed or within a reasonable amount of time. So I don't think it can't be without hot water in that facility for very long.
right.
So
Good, that's just why I asked. Thank you.
yeah.
Counselor Hughes.
I move to accept the CAO updated information.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call to question, those in favor. And that is carried. Moving forward to the management task list. So all that would need to be added, obviously, on this is the motion that was made earlier, regarding the report with locks on.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yep. And the letters too.
And the letters as well.
Yeah. Otherwise, there'll be a number of 4 items that will be actually removed from the list after today.
Counselor Hughes.
I move to accept
Thank you.
the
It is
task.
getting late.
Presented, yes.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call to question for those in favor. Let's look alive, people. It is 9:15.
Talking to me?
Everyone. Let's look alive. Okay. We'll do question period. Any questions for administration? As I see none, let's move forward into our committee minutes. The first one up is the intermunicipal committee. We actually met today with our partners at the MD 124. And we had a discussion regarding a few items that are going to be put back through budget. So it was really positive discussions, and we'll be able to release more once our respective councils get through budget. Tri-Council Health Committee.
We have verbal updates from Kate and Adele from the Rural Health Professions Act Action Plan. Johan Vandernest from the FCC, Darby Bannister from EMS, and Shauna Walbank and Robin Gibson from the Healthcare Center. Kate discussed the 3-day rural community conference, which will be taking place in Wainwright, October 8th to 10th. Johan announced that we will be welcoming our 10th doctor in Slave Lake in the next few weeks. Adding the 10th doctor will reduce wait times and create more capacity for other doctors to take on new patients. As of right now, the average time to get an appointment is less than a week. Adding another physician to the team will allow the clinic to hopefully offer extended hours starting October. Darby said that the staffing levels throughout our region with EMS are very good. He talked about getting increased presence within the Northern Lakes College, as well as working with the career coaches at the High Prairie School Division to help build awareness and help recruit future emergency medical staff within our region. Darby also said that the new EMT facility has been on Caribou Trail has been postponed, but is close to opening. And Sean and Robin from the Healthcare Center said we welcomed our 4th international nurse to Slave Lake a few weeks ago. I had the opportunity to tour her around. The biggest challenge still remains housing for a lot of people who are coming to our area. She has a loan right now, but she has family coming in October. So if anyone knows something suitable, please let me know. That's it.
Okay, the Community Education Committee.
Thank you. The Early Learning and Childcare, which is a new program, has attracted 400 students. So that's a positive attraction in our area. Peace River and Slave Lake will be doing a pilot project of the CAEC program this year. Our Northern Lakes Driver Training School is now licensed as a provincial driver training school, which allows us to offer programming such as the mandatory entry-level training, which is called the MELT. CEC held their elections, and Joy McGregor was elected as chair of the Slave Lake CEC for another term.
Okay. MPC.
This is a short one here. At yesterday's meeting, the MPC voted to support the redesignation and rezoning of lands just west of town near Mooney Creek in the municipal district of Lesser Slave Lake, Lesser Slave River, number 124, from commercial to light industrial.
Waste.
As part of the waste management, 4 delegates from our area are going to the Alberta Care Conference, which begins on the 11th and runs through till the 13th of September. This conference brings together a lot of conversations around reducing waste and providing recycling plans and efforts to divert substantial waste from landfills. So we're looking to see how this will be beneficial to our area. So stand by for further updates. That's it.
Bramlett.
I would like to make a motion to accept the committee reports as information.
Thank you. Motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Call to question those in favor. And that is carried. State of the lake. Ally, you have
Okay,
a time limit.
State of the Lake. First off, congratulations to Ben Bella, a grade 10 Rolla Michener senior high student for being appointed to the prestigious Ministers Youth Advisory Council. This achievement highlights Ben's dedication to academics and his commitment to living the Rolla Michener Rams values. Slave Lake Motocross Association will be hosting race weekend, September 14th and 15th. Saturday races will start at 1 and Sunday races start at 9:30. Here's hoping for good weather for the event. September is a busy month. Slave Lake Minor Hockey is hosting their evaluations and divisional skates this week. Dancing Kids has put on their dance schedule for the year. Registration is now open for the Slave Lake Volleyball Club. Rolla Michener Senior High girls volleyball tryouts are this week as well. And I want to wish good luck to our Rams football team that will be hosting their first home game ever next Tuesday, September 17th against Westlock. Go Rams, go.
Councillor Choba.
This is a personal one for me. I would just like to wish my daughter a happy birthday. It was her birthday this week, and I just want to say thank you for making me a father.
Adorable. Councillor Hughes.
Motion to go into closed session.
Call to question those in favor. And that is carried. Moving forward into correspondence, Kim?
Yes, thank you. So this was just given to me a couple hours before the meeting here from the Slave Lake Christian Academy. They are requesting a letter of support from the town of Slave Lake. They have a letter here just stating that their playground equipment is essentially out of date, has seen better days, and is quickly deteriorating. And they are looking to essentially apply for a grant. And a letter of support would help their cause immensely for us to do that. And so for that reason, they're reaching out to leaders in the community and requesting help by sending letters to support the school and their quest for the new playground equipment. And I have a copy of exactly what they'd be looking for. So it'd be very easy and quick for administration to do so.
Sounds great.
Counselor Wong.
I will make a motion to task administration to do just that, letter of support for the
Slave Lake Christian
School
Academy.
Academy.
Okay,
Perfect.
motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion?
Sorry, I just want they do need this by the 17th, so immediately, just in the interest of time. I don't know if you want to add a date on there
We'll do it tonight.
before the end of the week. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay. Called questions in favor. Okay, that is carried. Counselor Choba.
I'd like to make a motion to direct administration to proceed with purchasing the property of 701 6th Avenue Southeast, Slave Lake, Alberta, T0G283 for the price of $475,000. For the price of $475,000 and to be funded from the Capital Building Reserve.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Call the question, those in favor. And that is carried. Counselor Gramlich.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion on the floor. Call the question, those in favor. And that is carried.